What's up, guys, and welcome back to the Thai Championship. This is going to be the third best of one of the day. We have Green Can Fly versus Team NXL. Cards on the table. I don't really know too much about these teams, but regardless, hoping it's going to be a good match. And there's actually fighting for elimination, I believe. Yeah, loser is out. Winner goes on to face 85 Leela, who just recently lost to Team Malaysia. So it should be pretty hard, and well, we'll see how it pans out. I'm Mike Loris here on HeflaTV, and my co-caster is Grandis V.
Yeah, this game is going to be between two of the Thai teams that were invited to the tournament or potentially made it through some sort of qualifiers, although I'm not exactly sure what path led them to here. So they're teams that I'm not very familiar with. I don't really follow Thai Dota that much, so I honestly have no idea who these players are, and it's going to be something new for me. Although what's not new is the bans and the picks. For now, it's looking pretty vanilla, with Brewmaster Terrorblade taken out and Scarith Mage and Doom being also banned out of the pool. First pick Death Prophet from NXL. Nothing too spectacular yet.
Doom has kind of fallen off the face of the earth. I haven't seen him since 0.82 has come out, and it seems like Green are certainly respecting that hero. I don't think he's that much of a threat. Like, he could always do his job well, which is shut down one single target, but I mean, I don't think he's really worth the ban anymore.
Fair enough. I think Razor or Death Prophet fits in that ban slot a lot more comfortably. Wraith King, first pick from Green, is going to be a pretty solid hero, although another one that's kind of fallen in popularity, although not as much as the Doom. You still see him in the second phase, picked up as a support usually, although there is always the potential for him to be a farming core this game. Green are still waiting on their second pick. It's kind of weird to see them hesitating. It's going to be the Viper for them.
Wraith King Viper is more of an older opening from the 0.1 era, 0.81 era, rather. I mean, they're still strong heroes. Viper is, of course, seen all the time as he's a very solid lane controller, and most of the time he will do decent in lane, and he's pretty durable as well. Wraith King, kind of the same way. If you play him as a support, you're going to get a very reliable stun, which is, if you're partnering up with someone else, could be a very good setup, although Scarith Mage is already out of the pool. Nonetheless, it's Wraith King, and he's always going to be quite a nuisance, hard to mess with. And if you want to go in Random Burn, it could be a good route if it's a core Wraith King. Otherwise, you're going to have to deal with that reincarnation slow, and that AoE is actually pretty huge. Like, it is just a giant nuisance to deal with.
It really is. Actually, a correction, Team NXL are from Indonesia, so I really don't know where they're from. Either way, Centaur picked up by NXL is going to be a solid offlaner for them. It's going to be nice for them to pretty much negate the Viper's ability to slow down heroes, keep the Death Prophet safe. The next ban coming up from NXL is actually going to be the Meepo, which is fairly peculiar. Already, they have some decent tools for dealing with the Meepo, and if it was picked up in the second stage, they'd still have plenty of picks in order to lock him down. I'm not sure if it's really worth banning him out right now. I don't know, maybe just not something that they're comfortable playing up against.
Yeah, I mean, it's something that it's mostly a style choice. It's like, oh, even though we have tools against Meepo, do we actually want to fight up against the Meepo? And the game changes drastically when you do have the enemy Meepo on the field. And Centaur and Death Prophet are fantastic heroes against it, but you know, it takes quite a lot of effort to shut a Meepo down. And even if you do shut him down, it's not going to be very long because of how fast he can get his farm. So it is always a ban that is a little bit upsetting to see, since I would love to see Meepo. Haven't seen him in quite a while, actually. So it's going to be out one way or another. Bristleback, as well as Tide, going to get the boot as well. As going to be quite a lot of offlane hate, and then an Ancient Apparition ban from Green. Maybe going to look to a little bit more healing?
I suppose so. I don't know, it's kind of nice to have the Ancient Apparition ultimate up against the Death Prophet, but Green's bans are very peculiar to me. They already have the Centaur on the side of NXL. It's unusual to see the Bristleback as a safe lane farmer. Although it can be done, I'm not sure that would be the angle that NXL would take this game. Yeah, I think that Green have more or less completely thrown away two bans. Maybe they're heroes that work very well up against what they're deciding to pick. Honestly, I'm not really feeling it. The mechanism getting shut down for the Viper as well as the Wraith King aura is annoying from the Ancient Apparition. It's still very weird.
Yeah, Centaur, Bristleback, though they can potentially work very well together, especially if you pick up something like an IO to partner with the Bristleback, is relatively rare just because they usually occupy the same lane, and you obviously don't want to get two heroes who usually occupy the same lane, otherwise things are going to get a little bit uncomfortable. But is it going to matter? Shadow Demon's going to be the pickup for Green, and even if they have kind of questionable bans, they're getting some pretty decent heroes. The Tidehunter being banned out makes a lot of sense from NXL. Meepo, again, not too familiar with green, so I can't speak to their effectiveness with the hero, but it is on land, so maybe Meepo in general is a threat. Shadow Demon Wraith King, if this is going to be the support duo for green, I think they could do a lot better. I honestly don't really like these heroes together just because they're both setup heroes, and they don't capitalize off of each other's setups at all.
Yeah, they really don't. Maybe they're going for Mirana as the third cog in their tri-lane wheel, which would benefit very heavily from the Shadow Demon setup, and the follow-up stun from the Wraith King would most likely secure the kills inside that tri-lane. Still, it's lacking a little bit of something to make that Shadow Demon actually worthwhile. Usually Shadow Demon is picked defensively up against the likes of Faceless Void or Scarth Mage, but honestly, there's not much that he's going to be stopping. Death Prophet Exorcism damage might be nice to avoid with defensive disruptions, but it's not as cut and dry as something as instant as a Chronosphere or Scarth Mage Mystic Flare. Mirana picked up by NXL. I think this is the hero that Green wanted to pick, and although it's a solid hero for NXL to have on their side, this feels like more deny.
Yeah, and I like this play from NXL. They don't have any great setups for the Mirana Arrow right now, but they could always pick some up down the line. Really, any stun, any sort of disable at all, maybe a Bane, is going to be pretty useful for NXL. And now Green, they don't have probably the best hero to complement the Shadow Demon Wraith King opening. I mean, Disruption Arrow is devastating, and it's actually going to be a Kunkka, so they're going to adapt to this ban out by NXL pretty well with the Kunkka. It's a hero that I constantly expect to see with Shadow Demon, but I'm constantly disappointed. This is potentially going to be a little bit awkward, though, as they're running two melee heroes, and Wraith King has got to be played as support, I think, at this point. Or Kunkka support, I suppose, is also fine.
Right now, NXL are going to snag up the Earthshaker, one of the best setup heroes for the Mirana still left in the pool. Other than that, you have Rubik Lift into Arrow. I think NXL have plenty of setup to make this Mirana worthwhile, and the Earthshaker and Mirana could just be the roaming supports going out from them too, or from their team rather. Later on, you'll have a Yule Scepter from the Death Prophet to set up for the Zeros. As the Centaur picks up his Blink, you'll also have a Blink Hoofstop initiation to set them up. I think that this Mirana is fitting very nicely in an NXL's lineup. That said, Green's lineup is still looking pretty strong. Their lanes should work very well for them. Viper is expected to win his lane. If nothing else, probably going to be matched up against the Death Prophet in mid, which should be wonderful for him. If it is going to be a defensive tri-lane coming out from Green, the Shadow Demon and Kunkka should be able to secure farm and deny the Centaur from getting a decent amount of his. As the Shadow Demon Disruption into Torrent, as well as the Wraith Fire Blast, is probably going to be enough to bring down the Centaur. Even though usually thought of as a tanky hero, that amount of lockdown is hard for pretty much anybody to deal with.
I could see both teams just trying to dodge these tri-lanes. I mean, Mirana Earthshaker is certainly very dangerous, but they need another hero to really solidify the deal. Whereas Green, it seems like they're going to be working with Shadow Demon, Kunkka, Wraith King, and that's pretty awkward. It's definitely capable of getting kills, but I think just going the safe route for either side is going to be preferable. And then at that point, Death Prophet versus Viper is a rather even lane. As far as rotations out, Shadow Demon Kunkka can certainly make a lot of things happen, especially if they had a Nature's Prophet with them, but unfortunately that's not going to be the case. NXL, if it's going to be a support Mirana, Earthshaker, they could also make quite a few things happen, but they are going to be working up against a Shadow Demon, a great hero with or against Mirana, honestly. If you land an arrow, you're usually going to get the kill unless that target gets disrupted.
In which case, it's going to pretty much negate the entirety of the duration of the arrow, or more or less. A 5-second arrow is still going to have a little bit of time after the fact where they're able to follow up, but it's just not that great. Green can fly, or still waiting on this 5th pick coming out from them. Both teams haven't really tapped in their reserve time very much, so they have plenty of time to think about these 5th heroes on their lineup. The Nature's Prophet would have synergized very well with Green Can Fly, offering them a little bit more pushing power as well as that global potential, and there's not really anything to compare to the Nature's Prophet in effectiveness. The offlaner pool is looking fairly slim at the moment, with Centaur being picked up by the enemy team, Brewmaster, Nature's Prophet tied, as well as Bristleback Doom being banned out. There's not very much left. I'd like to see a Darkseer, although I think it's unlikely that they'll go for it. It would probably be able to get enough out of the lane in order to warrant picking up the hero, and then vacuum into the Torrent boat combo is always fun to watch.
Yeah, he's one of the few, I would say, viable offlane heroes still in the game. They could go aggressive and then just have a random hero in the safe lane, and Timbersaw, the hero that I personally forgot about, is going to be the pickup. Up against NXL's team, it's going to be actually pretty good. He's going to have to worry about silences, a couple of stuns here and there, but you're never going to have a perfect Timbersaw game. This is, however, going to be the 3rd melee hero for Green, And I think 3 melee heroes is the point where it's too much. 2 is fine, like what NXL have right now, Earthshaker Centaur, that's playable. But 3 just gets a little bit too awkward. Up against an Earthshaker Centaur, things get really dangerous if you have to cluster up that much. And NXL, they're going to go for a Lich last. I mean, it's not going to have as much of a clear impact in the game as we saw in the last game, but it's still just a very solid support hero, very safe.
It's going to make their tri-lane pretty much guaranteed to win. Even if they don't get kills, the threat of the arrow landing will probably stop whatever they're playing up against from farming, and then you'll also have a Lich that's just passively denying that experience. And then if an arrow does land, they'll have plenty of follow-up damage coming out from the Lich Frostblast, as well as just the right clicks from these heroes. It's a decent enough choice from NXL. So yeah, right now I think I'm favoring NXL's lineup, although that said, the Kunkka, as well as the Shadow Demon as supports, or maybe it's the Wraith King played as a support, whatever the case, it's going to give Green Can Fly a decent amount of potential to transition towards the late game on whatever hero starts out as the roaming hero.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to give my edge to NXL as well. I mean, they just have a lot more of a focused lineup. They could get things going a lot earlier and get a whole bunch of kills and actually capitalize on those kills in order to take towers. That's what you get when you pick up a Death Prophet. And Green Can Fly, they have an okay lineup for fighting in the early stages, but I don't know. It really depends on how well this Shadow Demon roam goes off. I'm assuming he's going to be partnered up with the Kunkka support, as Shadow Demon Wraith King is rather underwhelming. If it gets a kill here and there, then I could see Green Can Fly getting a decent early game, but otherwise I just think NXL's picks are just so safe. Like, the tri-lane of NXL is extremely safe with the Mirana, whole bunch of stuns, and Death Prophet is rarely going to ever lose a lane, so yeah, I think NXL are going to have a nice edge moving into this game just with their draft alone.
I think that's fair. Apparently, NXL are in a bit of a loss streak, so maybe that factors into things. We're going to have a little bit of a hero swap on the Radiant side. That said, looks like we're going to load in and get all of the players into the match. And, well, I suppose during this downtime, I'll go ahead and introduce the Radiant side. It is going to be Green Can Fly playing on that side of the map, with Jab handling the Timbersaw supports. We're going to have TNT playing on the Shadow Demon, presumably a support Kunkka played by Eamzamax. And we're going to have Xenon playing on the Viper and Diva playing on the Wraith King.
And on NXL, we got AMZ, Amazing, I guess, Amaze. On the Mirana, Zephyr is going to be playing the support Earthshaker. Phoenix is going to be playing the Lich. That just makes no sense. Spaceman is going to be on the Death Prophet, and that leaves Centaur Warrunner to be played by Nasa. And, of course, we're going to be having a couple of pauses, but we do see how these lanes are actually going to shape up. It just might be a dual safe lane for NXL. Honestly, the Mirana and Earthshaker combination is potent enough that they don't need the additional Lich damage, although it would certainly be nice. They could get away with this, because they know that the enemy lane is just going to be the Timbersaw.
Yep, and for now, we're going to chill in the pause, but there we go. We are going to press into this game, hopefully without any more interruptions. As the lane matchups, we're going to have a Kunkka mid, actually, coming out from GCF, going to match up against the Death Prophet. Both heroes should be able to get a decent amount of farm, although I'd say Death Prophet's favored in this matchup by default, especially with the amount of damage that she's going to be running with. Starting out with the Null Talisman, as well as the 3 Iron Branches. The Kunkka Stout Shield, although nice to avoid a little bit of that harass, is not going to save him from it. And if he oversteps his bounds, and maybe there's a stray Earthshaker dropping a fissure, he needs to be fairly careful. The bottom lane is going to be Lich Centaur for NXL, which in and of itself should have a wonderful time. Or not a wonderful time, but a passable time up against a very difficult tri-lane to go up against from GCF, with the Viper farming up against the Centaur that usually completely shuts down the Centaur by himself, but with the Lich passively keeping the lane closer to your tower, Centaur should be able to at least secure himself some levels, which honestly is enough. The Earthshaker as well as the Mirana are going to be partnered up top up against the Timbersaw, and I think missing the Lich here isn't going to harm their killing potential that much. I think if the Timbersaw is blocked off and the Timber Chain cut off by either Mirana or the Fissure, they'll probably get that kill with or without the Lich. So I think this laning choice coming out from an NXL going for the dual lanes is going to be perfectly serviceable.
Yeah, for the Wraith King support, I mean, I was kind of hoping that this wouldn't be the case. I think he is a better support in general than the Kunkka, but they have a ton of setup with Shadow Demon, and honestly the Disruption isn't really going to be doing that much. It's going to be a pseudo stun, but that's about it. Like, you're not setting up for a Wraithfire Blast. You're going to land the Wraithfire Blast if you really want to. So this is going to be an extremely awkward set of supports for GCF in this game. I mean, it's not too bad, but it's also not too good. I mean, the Kunkka actually benefits from Torrent, and I guess they can roam towards the mid lane and get value out of Disruption Torrent eventually, but I don't think these supports are going to have that much of an impact for the GCF side.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Kunkka does start out with Torrent level 1. There's boots first on the Shadow Demon, so maybe they were hoping to look for a kill like that, but honestly, I think these boots first on the Shadow Demon really aren't going to benefit him all that much. Then again, it's not going to hurt either. Having the boots is never a bad thing. They are just going to be pulling on their side of the map, as these two supports really can't put that much pressure. They leave the Viper solo up against the Centaur, but then again, Centaur is still able to get experience from this wave, and he's going to be decently happy. Although his Blink Dagger's not going to come out at a very fast timing, it's still exactly what a Centaur wants. Getting level 6 at a decent time, not dying in the offlane is pretty much all you can ask for. Lich hasn't even shown his face in lane, just passively denying well away from enemy heroes.
Yeah, and Lich could afford to do that. Like, even though you would like your Lich to be actively poking at the enemy and getting Frost Blast harassment off, he's solidifying the lane by getting a constant stream of denies, and up against 2, sometimes 3 enemy heroes, those denies really start to add up because they're splitting the experience so many ways. Shadow Demon has left the lane, maybe trying to secure the top lane rune for the team, but can he do anything off of this? He's looking for disruption onto the Death Prophet, which would have led up to a Torrent, but I don't think that would have been enough for a kill. They're going to actually find D.Va, and is there a Frost Blast? No, Lich just a little bit short. A Frost Blast would have gotten a kill in this Wraith King, I think.
Yeah, I think that's fair. With the follow-up Centaur have stumped up Ledge, a fairly easy first blood for them. There was also an attempt up top on the Timbersaw, but I don't think the arrow landed, and if it does, it wasn't a very long one. Despite having fairly peculiar lanes, GCF are actually doing a lot better than I thought they would. Especially the Kunkka. Even though it's a little bit too early to say, he's almost doubling up the Death Prophet's CS just from the passive harass coming out from the Tidebringer. It's enough to keep Spaceman at arm's length, and I wasn't expecting this.
That honestly shouldn't be happening. The Death Prophet is going to be hard-pressed to lose lanes ever, but hey, getting hit by 1 too many Tidebringers, 1 too many Torrents, and suddenly she is actually without her bottle. That's why it's happening, because Spaceman, he only loaded out with 2 tangos, and he got hit with just a little bit too much harass, and his last hitting has been just a little bit off point. He now does have a bottle walking out to him, so it's going to be salvageable this lane, but I mean, the Kunkka actually got off to a much better start than you would really expect because of just the harassment and getting the early CS over the Death Prophet.
Yeah. The other lane, that's doing well for GCF is the Viper, and that's kind of to be expected. The Centaur isn't CSing very well under tower, but he is at level 3, and at 3 minutes in, that's completely fine. We haven't seen any super aggressive rotations. The Shadow Demon's still kind of chilling around mid, hoping to try to find something onto this Death Prophet, but now that she has the bottle, running back and forth from base, giving her that extra regen, I doubt they're going to be able to find an opening onto this DP until Kunkka has level 6, and he's still a full level away.
Is this Shadow Demon even here? Like, he's been up in this area since, like, the 2-minute rune spawn, and he hasn't done anything. I guess he's going to start stacking for GCF, but they don't have the fastest clear. No, he's not even going to do that. I'm pretty sure the Shadow Demon's just AFK.
He just twitched. He moved, but this is such a large waste of time for him. Like, he could be doing anything else, virtually anything else. He could be, I don't know, looking for a disruption, maybe. They still don't have the boat, and I don't think this is going to be enough. It will put a lot of hurt into the Death Prophet. The body blocks coming up from the Illusions isn't going to be enough, but maybe they have enough damage. They will. It's going to be TNT drawing the first blood with those Illusion right clicks as well as the Shadow Poison. I wasn't expecting that to actually pan out for them, but I underestimated the Death Prophet a little bit. Doesn't have the boots and wasn't able to get out of there alive.
Yeah, and that's the killing potential that you get when you have Disruption Torrent. It's a legit combination, and now that they have the boat, those kills are going to be so much easier. Death Prophet is one of the more survivable heroes on the NXL side, and if she drops to a combo without boat, then I think everyone's going to drop to a combo with boat. They're going to go for Jab up on top lane. However, he does have a Timber Chain out. They actually can't get these kills very easily. However, Arrow, opportunity is there. It is going to not even come close to connecting, and then Timber Chain out. They are going to leap forward for this one, but the salve is there for Timbersaw, so he's back up to more than half. Fissure going to completely block him out. Does he have any trees to jump to? He is going to miss his Timber Chain. Now the star's going to land 7 HP. He's going to buy something before he dies, but he actually sells it and then rebuys it again. That's going to be a long extended kill on the Timbersaw, but it's a kill nonetheless, and it's a very handy one for NXL to take, as a leveled up Timbersaw is not what you want to be going up against, and it is a level 5 hero that's going to be brought down by a couple of level 4 heroes.
Yeah, and that's going to give a nice boost of experience towards Mirana as well as the Earthshaker. Earthshaker is a support that doesn't farm very well, and being involved in those kills is very important for the Earthshaker to get those arcane boots up at a decent time, and eventually that Blink Dagger. Still, it's a fairly passive game and a fairly even one at that. I'd say slight lead towards GCF, although it's only slight. At this point in the game, you really can't say much more as the Timber Chain's going to land after the fact, however, the Fissure is going to cancel that animation. Jab still able to get the damage off, looking for the kill on this Earthshaker, going very aggressively on our tower. He's going to lose his life. No questions asked as the Earthshaker survives. Not very much HP and no salves will force Earthshaker back to base, but still, Timbersaw throws away his life again up in top.
In the meantime, there was a mid lane initiation, no boat needed, but they get kill on the Death Prophet, and I think it's going to be benefiting GCF to be killing off this Death Prophet repeatedly over NXL killing off the Timbersaw repeatedly. As good as Timbersaw is with a little bit of farm, Death Prophet is just a little bit more dangerous, and well, Timbersaw could have gotten one of those kills, I think, if he angled his Timber Chain a little bit to the left. He Timber Chained to get the hit on the Earthshaker, obviously, but he ended up going into tower range, and that's what solidified his death. If he was just a little bit more cautious about his tree selection, he could have gotten the kill and then probably escaped scot-free. Maybe he would have gone down anyway, but either way, it would have been a kill going for him as opposed to just another death feeding into a dual lane. That's honestly not going to be able to easily kill Timbersaws most of the time, just because the burst damage isn't very high from these two, and maybe their third hero would be higher, but NXL, they're getting a lot more out of this dual lane than you really would expect, just because Jab is feeding himself over a couple times.
Yeah. It's still a Timbersaw that's very close to level 6, and he's going to have a decent game impact even though he gave up those kills, but if he didn't, the Mirana and the Earthshaker would be having a much poorer time. The Mirana now has her level 6 available, so Moonlight Shadow ganks are there, although they're not really setting up for much of anything, and I doubt we're going to see that actually come to fruition for NXL. Spaceman, after dying twice, really has nothing to his name, on top of the Boots bottle as well as no Talisman that he's been sitting on for the longest of times. Kunkka now with the double damage rune is looking to farm a couple of these stacks, although it doesn't pop the double damage for it. Is able to do so fairly effectively, even without using mana, just by spamming out Tidebringer every once in a while and kiting out the creeps.
Bottom lane, they're going to land a Fissure onto Sinon, and the closing in for the Hoof Stomp is going to land as well. Double Edge, not going to kill off the Viper yet, but now it will. Lots of poison damage up to Phoenix, though, and I think this might be a retaliation kill. They might have held on to that Double Edge a little bit too long, as Lich is not that durable. And meantime, top lane, a little bit of a kill attempt there, but it's going to be Viper getting a kill before he goes down. I think NXL just hesitated one too many times. Earthshaker could have gotten a much earlier Fissure, but he held on to it.
Yeah, 3-3, our kill score currently tied up. Arcane Boots are now secured for Zephyr on the Earthshaker, and he's going to make his way back towards top lane. The Viper, having been left alone for the majority of this game after that last engagement, or before that last engagement, is going to have the completed mechanism now, although I'm not sure they're going to be able to do anything with this, and maybe going for the power treads first would have been a better option. Either way, it's now in the inventory of the Viper, and they do have that potential to push down these lanes without much that the Centaur Warner can do about it. But then again, not much pushing power coming out from these heroes, so we'll just have to see how that's going to pan out. The Timbersaw, again, going aggressively onto the Earthshaker, isn't going to find any openings, however. He does have the level 6, and if he catches out the ES is probably going to die. Looking for the Chakram, it is going to land, as well as some Whirling Death, but it's barely not enough damage. Arrow lands onto Jab, as well as the double Starfall from the Mirana, and they'll secure the kill on the Timbersaw. Shadow Demon mops up the Earthshaker with a couple of Shadow Poisons and auto attack, and that's a killing spree for TNT, very surprisingly, getting both of the kills on the Death Prophet as well.
So yeah, Timbersaw is clearly playing it a little bit too fast and loose. And getting killed on the Earthshaker is nice, but putting yourself in range like that of a Mirana is going to be so incredibly dangerous and probably not worth it. I mean, definitely not worth it. Getting a kill on the Earthshaker is not going to be worth giving away your life as a core. They're going to stampede down on bottom. It's once again going to be the Viper. He's going to turn around for poison damage to Phoenix. This time he will have enough to survive, I believe. They quickly burst down the Viper, and this time Lich gets to live. And it's a lot easier thanks to that stampede, but at the same time they go for top lane. It's going to be the Mirana on the run. There's another Timber Chain available. Arrow's going to be thrown, this time dodged by Jab. Timber Chain's going to miss, however, and he will not be able to kill off this Mirana. The Timbersaw's been playing mostly well, but just every single time there's been one thing going wrong in his kill attempts, and that's been costing him not only the kills, but also his life.
Yeah, he is a hero that little mistakes can cost you that much, and Jab is going to secure himself a 10-minute rune. No, it's going to be picked up by the DP. It's regeneration. So this harass is only going to be temporary, but they might be able to kill, not with the Fetch and Fissure, however, and they bring in the Centaur in the backlines. There's going to be Chakram flying out, as well as the Torrent and the Axe onto the Death Prophet. They are going to get stun off. Regeneration was popped by the Death Prophet to give her that little extra burst heal, and they kill the Kunkka, and now the Timbersaw is looking for the chain away, but one more auto attack from the Enchant Totem of the Earthshaker will secure his demise. GCF are leaking core heroes left and right, and suddenly 4-7 is our score. NXL are not going to get away unscathed, but then again, they escape with all of their lives. So a little bit of trip to the well is going to be definitely worth it after picking up that much of experience in gold.
That fissure could have been so bad for NXL. Like, they put Spaceman into a corner with that fissure. Fortunately for them, GCF, they're all melee heroes in that area, and NXL brought in the cavalry in a big way. They had 4 heroes there, whereas GCF only had 2, so they were able to outdamage and therefore save the death profit. But these fissures, they have to be a little bit better than that, because you don't really expect them to corner your ally, but if you're not thinking about it, then it's probably going to happen. Fortunately for Earthshaker, he gets a free pass. Hopefully it's not going to happen in the future.
It's, yeah, definitely a spell that can make or break Earthshaker. Those crucial moments when you're trying to use it defensively, it can be more of a hindrance than a help. Currently, Tier 1 tower in mid is going to be pushed down by GCF, bringing almost full forces, and now Jab rotating it. It's going to be 5-man rotation. They look for the fissure. It's only going to delay this push. Tower not dropped to a half damage as the Timber Chain is going to land onto the Lich. However, it's not enough to drop him instantly. They're looking for the Lift Stomp. It's cancel cast, and there it's going to land. Canceling the Timber Chain, beautifully timed by the center. Bo comes through, but doesn't land on anything, with the exception being Zephyr. No way to follow that up. The Fissure's not going to come by the Earthshaker. There's your Fissure, although blocking him on the wrong side. Center ultimate might make up for it, although the center might be overcommitting. He's going to look for Xenon, as he is going to be stomped up, as well as Lich ultimate, bouncing through to the Viper, and now back to the Wraith King. They're looking for the kill on Xenon. He pops the mech, and now a beautiful Torrent landing onto 2 might save the Viper his life, although he turns for another poison attack. The Ghosts are not going to do him in. He's going to survive in the backlines as the Earthshaker Echo Slam is a desperate attempt to save his life. It's going to fail. Double edge onto D.Va, but now the center is down to 1 HP and can't get away. They will bring down the Wraith King with 1 more Death Prophet Crypt Storm, but they need to get the hell out of here as the Death Prophet is incredibly low. Looking for the Timber Chain. Timbersaw is not going to be able to get off as he walks straight into an arrow. His jab is going to be jabbed in the face with the bottle refill coming out from Spaceman. Jab needs to get out of here as well. Bottling up, potentially looking for a Chakram Throw, isn't going to land it out, as he's just going to defensively go back towards his side of the map and then waste a lot of mana in suit.
That could have been a little bit better for NXL if Spaceman decided to turn around and get the kill on the Timbersaw. Once you get hit by the arrow, the Timbersaw was an easy kill. But even that being said, they do take a fantastic fight, and that's even with the Earthshaker fissures that are honestly pretty terrible. Like, these fissures are not accomplishing much. The attempted block twice on the Kunkka, first when the Kunkka was right to the north of the tower and that one failed, and then the second time when the Kunkka was to the south and that one failed as well. Yet despite all of this, they're still taking pretty good fights because of the fact that Mirana was able to clean up in the end. The Centaur is extremely tanky and extremely disruptive, and the Chain Frost did its job, and it did a little bit of damage. So even though the Earthshaker not exactly playing the peak Earthshaker, the rest of NXL, they're firing off on all cylinders, and GCF, they're really struggling to get anything done. I think the fact that the boat missed to start off that fight was probably the most crippling factor for the Radiant.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Right now, it's going to be another awkward standoff in mid. The only one absent from this is Miranda, is currently farming up top, and the Centaur down at bottom, farming down there for his Blink Dagger, and he now has that completed. And NXL, despite not having full force in mid, GCF aren't accomplishing anything with this, and now with the Blink Dagger on their Centaur, it's going to be a lot easier for them to take very beneficial fights for themselves. The pickoffs are going to come a lot easier. Spaceman's going to secure himself in Invis Rune. Is this group up from GCF? It looks like it potentially will dissolve, but right now they're still clumping up and accomplishing nothing. This team seems to have chronic issues with, I don't know, just finding things to do in the game. Shadow Demon, as well as the Wraith King, have done very little to nothing as far as support play is concerned.
I mean, they are playing technically correctly. Once you pick up a mech, it should be go time, but this is not the way to do it. Like, they're camping out 4 heroes in the mid lane, whereas NXL, they have a farming Centaur, they have a farming Mirana, so they're more than happy to park 3 heroes over towards mid that are very easily able to clear creep waves. A Crypt Swarm and a Fissure, and suddenly you can't push anymore. So though they do want to get mech on the Viper, and I can understand that, it's not exactly the best way to approach this, and they need to think of a different game plan, because this one clearly isn't working. I guess they are buying a little bit of time for Jab on the Timbersaw, but Timbersaw's performance hasn't really been up to par. He has pretty much nothing to his name. He has freaking 5 deaths. This Timbersaw is expected to be, at this stage of the game, the most dangerous hero on the map, but that's very far from the case.
Definitely. Right now, the Timbersaw, I don't know, it's so close to him being able to succeed in going for those kills. Had he not gotten killed in the earlier portions of the game, I'm tempted to say that his impact would be very high. I think it's just those first couple of deaths in lane that are really throwing him off. But yeah, the Timbersaw performance has been far from ideal. Right now, it is going to be the Viper deciding to give up on this group up in mid, now finishing up the power treads and farming up his own jungle. I still think that NXL are getting items that are quite a bit more important. Now a leap forward from the Mirana. Fisher's going to cancel that Timber Chain, although there's no arrow from the Mirana to follow that up. Unfortunate. I would have at least liked to see the Mirana try for that arrow. The off chance that it does hit the Timbersaw, that's a kill.
I think NXL, though they are getting the benefit of this kind of stalled out game phase, they should be looking to use this Exorcism. It is level 2 now, and when you're sitting on level 2 Exorcism, you're just wasting potential, and they're going to Stampede for... I have no idea. The Stampede used, and Spaceman is going to run to TNT. I bet they wish they had Stampede now. That certainly could have been very useful, but at the end of the day, Stampede is lost, and it seems like NXL are more than happy to just sit on this status quo and just get a little bit more farm up. I guess when you have a Mirana farming for a Maelstrom, you could be okay with this, but they are going up against a late game Viper and Kunkka. Those are some potentially very dangerous heroes, so if NXL sit back too much, then I think they're going to be throwing away a little bit of potential.
Yeah, I think that's fair right now. It's more or less just a complete wash. Neither team seem comfortable in taking engagements, although I think NXL probably could. They have a lot of global pickup potential with the Fissure into Arrow, or just the Centaur jumping onto somebody. Right now, the Shadow Demon pretty much dies straight up to the Stomp Double Edge from the Centaur, and if there's any follow-up on top of that, it's an ensured kill onto TNT. Defensive Disruption will delay things, but then again, it's only going to delay it. He will eventually fall if he's caught out in an awkward spot. Centaur is currently going to be aggressed upon, or at least it seems so, as the Kunkka rotates down towards bottom. I'm not sure they can actually kill this hero off, however. He does have a Blink Dagger. He's going to disjoint an auto attack from the Viper and make his way back towards his tower.
And this is a Blink Dagger on Centaur that so far has done, I'm pretty sure, absolutely nothing. So NXL, though they are in a comfortable position, they are getting more and more ahead on the net worth and experience. They could be doing so much more. Like, I hate it when I see teams do this. It's like they have a Blink Dagger on Centaur. It literally does not get any better than that 17 minutes into the game. Yet, now they are going to get initiated upon. The Boat Torrent is going to be all dodged by the fresh Eul Scepter from the Death Prophet. Literally just couriered out to her. That's going to end up saving her life. And in the meantime, top lane, Jab is going to get hit with an Echo Slam, though he will stick and bottle up. He's going to be just fine to potentially turn things around on this Earthshaker, who's diving way too deeply for this kill. The Stampede chase forward. He really wants this kill, but he's not going to get it. And I think that should be about it. Trading a couple hits here and there, but NXL, they get the tower in the end. So I guess you could call them the winners out of that.
I suppose so. Still, even though we're almost operating at a kill a minute, it feels like a very slow-paced game. Mostly because of how many kills could have happened. Deny down to bottom is going to succeed for the Centaur and immediately transition to TP. It's going to be successful, but he decides to turn as the Death Prophet pops Exorcism, looking for this kill on the Xenon. They should be able to find it, even though the Centaur is able to do absolutely nothing. His Blink Dagger is now going to come off of cooldown, looking for the Blink, Double Edge, or anything. The Chakram's going to be thrown out completely west from Timbersaw, and now he might be in a little bit of trouble as well. Tanking the entirety of an Exorcism is not going to be a very good course of action for the Timbersaw to do, and it is going to be a double kill for the Death Prophet. Wraith King does throw a Wraithfire Blast, disjointed by the Eul Scepter. Now the Blink Hoof Stomp is going to come through from the Centaur, and Diva is also going to give him his life. This one, however, is going to give him a reincarnation. This might spell the end of Spaceman, although with his ultimate wearing off, he's going to be up at full HP, and they can't go for him now. The curse is also going to land on a creep, unfortunately enough for them. The Centaur's raring and looking for another Blink Stomp initiation. He might be able to find on TNT. Blink, Hoof Stomp, Double Edge is going to secure the end of the Shadow Demon's life. 4 kills. Going the way of NXL, all said and done for nothing.
They lost one hero over on mid in a completely different fight, but this Death Prophet just cleaned house with the Exorcism. The GCF, they really didn't respect the fact that you do get almost pretty much, or you're guaranteed, I think, a full health restore if you get, like, constant damage with the Exorcism, even more so. Oh my god, you could refill your health pool like 2 or 3 times over if you have it running the entire time. They're going to go for Xenon over on mid. Chain Frost is not going to bounce a single time, but I don't think it matters. One more hit from Ron, not going to do it. Now the Timbersaw finally going to contribute to another kill. Although Viper with the measly amounts of poison damage returned from Corrosive is going to get that kill. NXL, they still take a fantastic fight, and that's really what matters. And if they could keep this up, then they're going to be fine. They're going to run straight into the Kunkka, securing the regen rune for the Death Prophet. Now Silenced, you're going to want to duel this Kunkka. Probably not the best idea. But yeah, it's NXL getting a couple of wins here and there, and wow, this is actually a 20-minute Blink Dagger on Zephyr. 228, and he's actually been farming quite a storm, and this is going to be concerning for GCF. The Blink Echo Slam is available in 5 seconds, and they're not respecting this potential for Echo Slam because you don't expect a Blink Dagger this early. This could be bad. Zephyr is going to blink in right. You got to blink in right now. I mean, it doesn't get much better than this. Spaceman is going to throw out a Crypt Swarm. Now there's no blinking opportunity. Man, I would have went there so hard.
Yeah, that's so greedy for the Earthshaker to look for more than that. Catching 2 or 3 in an Echo Slam, it's literally perfect. I don't understand why Earthshaker didn't jump. He had plenty of backup there. They would have had a decent amount of damage. Chain Frost was already spent, so they wouldn't have that to follow it up, but honestly, the Echo Slam with creeps as well as 2 heroes, there would have been plenty of damage in order to secure at least 2 kills. In the end, it's going to be a missed opportunity, whereas GCF are now going to smoke up and look for the wraparound. This could be a wraparound into their death, although they'll open up onto the poor Centaur, being clipped by the entirety of the Kunkka's combo, as well as the Timbersaw Chakram. It's not going to be enough damage. The Echo Slam's on the backline onto Jab, as well as TNT, but there's not enough follow-up for that one. Diva's going to lose his life. Still no reincarnation. The Timbersaw's falling very low after an arrow clips, and that's going to be a double kill for the Mirana after the Starfall takes out the Shadow Demon. Now chasing down Kunkka. He is silenced up. They are going to chase him down as he runs the other way into the fissure and into the Death Prophet as well as the Mirana. He probably would have had better chances of lasting longer if he just kept on running the same direction, but either way, I think he's going to die. 4 for 0 is going to be that last exchange for NXL. Is a very questionable jump in coming out from GCF. Obviously, they didn't know Earthshaker had a Blink Dagger, but even so, they were putting themselves in a very compromising position just for the Centaur initiation.
Killing off a Centaur is always going to be difficult. Like, he couldn't blink out. He was just sitting there in the entire combo. But he didn't care because he's Centaur, and Centaurs don't care about those types of things. They're just so very tanky, and if you don't bring him down, suddenly Stampede is out, and you're going to get converged upon in a hurry. Zephyr's Echo Slam ultimately did hit 2 heroes, which is, I suppose, very nice, although I still think he should have went beforehand. It's going to be a huge win for NXL. Their Mirana is getting scary big right now. She's holding Maelstrom Drums, Phase Boots 22 minutes into the game, which would be fantastic, and she also has another 2,000 gold on top of that, which just makes this farm insane. There's a BKB, which is going to be purchased by Spaceman, and the only thing that's really not going great for NXL is the fact they haven't taken any Tier 2 towers yet, and that's, you know, that's pretty nice for their team right now. They are going to once again have to deal with the siege mid. I don't know why GCF are so insistent on taking down this Tier 1 tower, and honestly I don't know why NXL haven't denied it off yet. I guess they figure if they keep pushing this mid lane, we'll just keep fighting and we'll keep winning. I
suppose so. I don't know, it feels like GCF just don't know what to do when you're behind. Like, that's honestly what it feels like. They're not abusing their side of the map at all, and they're going to lose map control very quickly. Mirana's currently just solo pushing down bottom, and nobody's rotating, and now they are going to bring down the Timbersaw as well as the Shadow Demon, but honestly, that's not going to cut it. Smoke is going to be purchased by the Centaur, and they're looking for initiation themselves. I'm not sure if they actually need to smoke up everybody, or if they need to smoke up at all, but this is going to ensure that they'll find a jump onto somebody. Let's see who it's going to be. Potentially the Viper if they go towards the left, and potentially Shadow Demon Timbersaw if they go down towards the bottom. And it looks like Timber is going to be screwed.
He could have been denying this tower the entire time, but instead, whole bunch of heroes. Here comes the Hoofstomp onto Jab. He's going to get annihilated by Arrow. The Shadow Demon's going to fall shortly after, and Kunkka teleported in, but do they know about this? I think he teleported hidden by the Fog of War, so Kunkka's fortunately going to live, but that could have been a tower deny and a retreat. Very clean and easy for GCF. Instead, they try to bait the Mirana in and expecting a Kunkka to help out potentially, but obviously that wasn't a good plan. Now they're going to lose not only 1 tower, but possibly 2. Fortification will delay this, but I think they can just right-click this down, especially if they catch the Wraith King right now. Eul Scepter is going to be thrown. Where's the arrow? It's not going to hit, but this Hoof Stomp sure as hell will. Diva's going to get hit very low. Chain Frost will pop the Reincarnation almost for sure. The Chain Frost bouncing, not really cooperating. They will pop that one finally as AMZ is going to jump forward, try to go for the Shadow Demon, not going to be able to even disrupt himself. Now Spaceman into the BKB. He's going to take quite a bit of damage, but the Stampede is out, and he's going to very quickly make his retreat, and it looks like he will walk right into a boat, but the BKB is still active, so he's going to live, and now it's going to be the Kunkka to get chain stunned up. The arrow's going to land, however, he does have the Rum, so he's very durable. Now Jab, looking for the Marauder, looking for someone, but he's not going to find anyone. In fact, he can't really catch up. He's going to miss the Timber Chain once again. It's going to be Phoenix potentially in the most trouble. He's going to hit with another Rayfire Blast. The slow from Sinon is going to connect. That's going to be a kill going the way of GCF, but I don't think they're going to get anything else. Nesa is going to TP out, and NXL, they take the worst fight that they've had this entire game, and it was a 1-for-1 trade.
Yeah, and when your worst fight's a 1-for-1 trade, you know you're doing something right. They take the Tier 1 tower for very little contention in the fight previous. Tier 2 tower still stands, so it's suppose that's okay for GCF, but honestly, they just don't have any tools that they need to fight these engagements. The Kunkka boat would have been nice, but then you have the Death Prophet BKB, which completely negates it. Yeah, it's just not a pretty picture for them. Right now, they're hoping that Kunkka gets huge, and that's kind of what they're waiting for. Kunkka, with just the phase drums, as well as the workings of the BKB, isn't going to be getting a damage item for quite some time, and that's what they're going to wait for. Maybe they'll be able to find a couple of pickups, but right now, NXL are the ones with firm control over this game. Roshan might be their next objective before they go for another tier 2 tower push, but honestly, I think they're strong enough to go for those pushes, and especially if they find a pickoff beforehand.
So NXL, they are just vastly far ahead. 12k plus in both gold and experience. It's a huge lead for any team to recover from. And GCF don't exactly have a hyper carry. They don't have a Spectre or Medusa that they're slowly farming up. No, this is pretty much where they're supposed to be at their strongest, especially this Timbersaw, who again is underperforming. So NXL, they're just feeling so comfortable in this game, as well they should. The Mirana has a completed Mjolnir 26 minutes into the game, and I think Roshan should have been a higher priority for NXL, but hell, as long as they're not sitting back and doing nothing, I think it's fine. They're going to smoke up and maybe lay Spaceman out as bait. Are GCF going to take this bait, however? That's an entirely different question. It looks like the answer is no. I don't know where they're going. This is the wrong direction. You should be going to the south and trying to secure Roshan, but NXL, they should be looking for more fights. I think they're just so strong at the moment that not fighting is going to hurt them more than it's going to help them.
And right now, they are going to fight. Death Prophet TP's top, looks for some farm there. Mirana farming bottom. Mid is going to be farmed up by nobody, as it's on the other side of the river, but eventually Centaur might consider going for a double edge or something of the sort. He's thinking about it, but it might cost him his life looking for a disruption. Not going to happen as the blink away from Centaur keeps him safe. They still haven't denied this tier 1 tower. Honestly, I have no idea why. It might be working out for them. They are going to get an X-Mark onto the Earthshaker, brought back into the boat, as well as the Chakram as the Torrent. The Force Staff might keep Zephyr safe, especially since they have the Moonlight Shadows, so Earthshaker actually makes it away with a couple scratches, but then again, he still survives. Now they bring in the Death Prophet, silence onto 3 heroes. No Exorcism, however, and there's no follow-up for that, so NXL actually aren't going to fight. Just going to clear up this creep wave as GCF, again, throw themselves in the brick wall that is NXL as they lose the tier 2 tower down in bottom to a solo Mirana that really should have been able to push that. TP going to be cancelled. If it wasn't, it would have been an arrow and presumably a kill. Mirana can now continuously push as the rest of the team pushes out mid.
GCF love this mid lane just a little bit too much. They've been grouped up in mid for, I want to say a third of this game, and that's not what you're supposed to do. At the very least, you should get a tier 1 tower off of this, but now I just love the decision of NXL to not deny this tower. They know that GCF want this tower so badly, and every single time they go in, they're putting themselves in a worse and worse position, and that's going to be 2 tier 2 towers going in favor of NXL. What can GCF do about this? They can't even 100-0 an Earthshaker with their entire combo. You're not going to be able to do that to a Death Prophet with Yules and BKB, nor are you going to be able to do that onto a Mirana. So NXL, they claim a whole bunch of towers, and now I think they're going to probably wait for their Exorcism to be up again. It's going to happen in another 2 minutes, but GCF, they can't really do anything in between with this timing. A Kunkka has a BKB, which is certainly going to be nice, but this isn't really the item that you need if the entire team is relying on you to do damage, as BKB is almost purely a utility survival item.
Yeah, right now, Kunkka, if he had a Daedalus, they might be able to take some fights, but I just don't really see it for NXL, or for GCF rather, as NXL just have so much control. Let's just going to poke Roshan once as he takes him out of the pit, but then leaves him there. Without Exorcism, it's a little bit harder for them to take Rosh, but they still can do it. Now we have a completed Scythe on the Death Prophet. There's just nothing on the side of GCF that even comes close to the impact of this item.
Nace is going to blow yet another attempt from GCF at some aggression, and he's going to blink out of there safe and sound. I mean, there's nothing that's going right for GCF right now. If they had a Spectre, they would be in a nice position or a decent enough position, but I don't know if they could kill this Death Prophet anymore. A Scythe of Vice is going to mean that she's going to be able to 1v3 at the very least with Exorcism up, and I mean, she's 726, and then after you deal with the Death Prophet, you have to deal with this Mirana, who's holding on to another 3,700 gold in her bank account. She could go for literally any damage item, any survival item that she could possibly want, and she could get away with it as well, and Centaur is not farming too poorly either. He hasn't died yet, and he's going to go for the pipe for his team. All of a sudden, your burst magic combo of Torrent Boat isn't going to be doing that much. So GCF, they are grouped up as 5 constantly, which is something that's more of a necessity than anything else, but this means that they're not farming all the lanes. Bottom lane, no one's there. Top lane, no one's there. They're all going to go on mid, and because they are so far behind, they're getting further and further behind just because they can't go out on their own.
Yeah, right now it's going to be Arrow Shot with Mirana, lands onto the poor Kunkka, and he's just going to be sold up by this Mirana, I think. TPs are going to stop that, as the X-Mark stops the aggression from the Mirana, but I think she had enough backup with the Lich as well as the Centaur to take that fight. Fight's gonna break out in mid. BKB popped by Spaceman, but no Exorcism available. They will find TNT and blow him to shreds with the Stomp as well as the Double Edge. Now looking for D.Va. His Hexed Up turned into a pig. They don't have any follow-up for that, however, and he's just going to be forced back into the base. A fairly weird engagement for NXL to take, but they're still going to come out on top with a tier 2 as well as a kill to their name. So I suppose it's worth it? I don't know.
That was a BKB charge being spent on both sides, as Kunkka did use his. I did not catch what actually happened with the Kunkka. I assume just a leap in from the Mirana or something like that, and he got scared. But either way, BKB for BKB and then a kill in addition. The Exorcism just now cooling down. Perfect timing for Spaceman. And this tower is going to take so much damage. Nasa, right in the front lines, is going to eat a Viper Strike, but he has a hood, so he doesn't really care about this damage. Spaceman going to land a huge silence onto 3, and he doesn't have BKB, so this could potentially be a lot of danger, but he's not actually taking that much damage. Now the damage is going to flow, but a huge Echo Slam from Zephyr is going to connect onto 4, and they're going to get blown to shreds. Both's going to come and apply Realm onto everyone, but it's not going to do any damage to anyone. And NXL, they're all still alive, whereas GCF, they're pretty much all on their deathbeds. It's going to be the Death Prophet die in the end. Mirana going deep within the enemy base, but they're going to catch D.Va. He has his Blade Mail up. He's going to lose his Reincarnation. Jab, returning to this fight. He's going to try to kill off the Earthshaker, will fail to do so. Mirana, Phoenix, and Nasa, all very weak, but they could still feasibly take a fight right now if they got a couple stuns off, which they're not landing. Lich is going to get blown up, and GCF, they're fighting this one back. However, it might be Jab overextending just a little bit too much. Chain Stun is going to be perfect. Jab is going to get destroyed as he tries to clean up for his team. Maybe NXL diving a little bit too deeply. The Death Prophet so desperately needed her BKB usage there, but at the end of the day, it's still going to be a win for NXL.
Actually, I'm not sure it's a win for them. If you look at the gold swing, as far as the fight recap is concerned, it's going to be an advantage towards GCF, especially since they defend their high ground. The 15,000 gold advantage going their way, even though they bought back on the Timber side, is mostly going to be in the Wraith King's pockets. 1,200 gold after that team fight. It's going to be put towards the Blink Dagger for D.Va, so I don't know, it's not a very clean-cut win for NXL, but honestly, if they just group up and go for it again, they could probably win the fight. One of the biggest issues for NXL was that they, I don't know, played too defensively. The Earthshaker gets a 4-man Echo Slam and then doesn't follow it up with both of his stuns. They force staff out the Earthshakers. He's taking quite a bit of damage from the Viper that's right-clicking him, but honestly, I'd rather lose my Earthshaker and team wipe the enemy team than save my Earthshaker and then take a sketchy engagement afterwards.
Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet. I'm pretty sure most Dota players would take that trade as well. I mean, they take the tower in the end. They put no damage on the Raxes, but they still have an Exorcism up in 15 seconds. So if it's a win, if it's a loss, if it's a wash, does it really matter? Because NXL, they still have a lot of momentum. And Nasa, oh, he's looking for someone. He's going to catch eyes with the Viper, but he won't be able to do much. He's going to just blink out of there. NXL, they're just still in firm control of this game. Like, no matter what happened in the last fight, Mirana now has a completed Manta style with the Mjolnir, and the Death Prophet still has a Sheep Stick with another 2,000 gold to her name. So the fight, whether it was a win or a loss, ultimately doesn't even matter, as Team NXL are still going to be looking for these objectives, and it's going to be Roshan, it looks like. It's about time. I mean, I feel like they could have done this twice by now.
Yeah, well, they are going to go into Roche. They don't pop Exorcism for this. I don't think they need to. But it definitely would scare faster. If they don't use it, they'll be able to transition more effectively into a high ground push, which would be very nice for them. Timbersaw is currently pushing down mid, and it looks like GCF are finally going to get this tier 1 tower, but will they even be able to do that? The Shadow Demon could probably just right-click it. He purges up the Centaur, and then looks for the tower right-click. Viper's going to secure this one, but no, it's Cliff. They can't take this tier 1 tower to save their life. Roshan's going to take it, now TPing to the tower. The tower still survives. BKB by the Viper, and now TPing out after getting the last hit. Xenon's able to get it, and then cancels it. So let's Chain Frost bounces through. He's going to throw a Viper Strike. Now the Chakram's going to be bouncing through Spaceman as well as through the Centaur, but they're just not taking enough damage with the pipe, and now Xenon is going to be double-edged up, still surviving. One more right-click from Ron, and it's going to do him in. Viper, not worth it for that tower. Although they spend a lot of their cooldowns, it doesn't matter. Now they're going to find TNT as well as the Kunkka. BKB TP trying for it, but he's not going to be able to do so as the Exorcism is too much damage at level 16 for the Death Prophet. NXL are just completely stomping GCF, and with the advantage that they have, rightfully so.
I think it's a moral victory for GCF. They finally got that freaking tier 1 tower. It's been messing with them for so long, but they get it, and therefore they're somewhat victorious, although in actuality they're not going to be that happy, because this is going to be top Raxes at the very least. They get absolutely destroyed by the Death Prophet ultimate. Chain Frost does go through BKB, or at least the mini stun does, and that's what's important. that was relevant there as well. That's going to be top lane in its entirety, and still Mirana's at full HP with an Aegis, and it looks like NXL, they're pretty much untouched. D.Va's going to get a Blink Initiation onto Spaceman, but he has Eul Scepter and BKB to keep himself safe. Nasa is going to jump forward, but he's going to force defensive plays. That's pretty much all you want. Spaceman's going to fight up against D.Va, as AMZ is going to try to kill off the Shadow Demon. Unfortunately, no Mjolnir pox, and now he's stuck in the corner, although he will not be there for very long. Now the Stampede is out. Xenon's still in the BKB, is doing some okay damage, but he's the only one who's actually doing anything. This is Mirana's going to lose her Aegis. Who cares? That's what it's for. Now she's back up to full HP, and GCF, they're without their stun of the Wraith King, and without that, I don't know if they could take a fight. NXL, they're going to back off for now, but they are just waiting for another creep wave. I'm pretty sure they're just going to not let up with this pressure, as they're going to get initiation onto this Kunkka. Blink, Hoof Stomp. The Fissure's going to land as well. He's actually pretty durable. He's going to get chain stunned perfectly, though. No BKB is going to save him. Now the Echo Slam is going to come and annihilate Shadow Demon. Xenon's going to get hexed, and he's going to drop. This is almost certainly going to be GG, as Jab cannot do anything against this tide of NXL heroes.
And there you go. It's going to be called out by GCF. Unfortunately, that's going to be our last game, at least from us American casters. We are going to switch you over to a fresh set, which hopefully for you is going to be beneficial, as they'll be bringing a lot more excitement, hopefully some more exciting games. Honestly, this was just so one-sided in the favor of GCF, and not because NXL played well, but because GCF played worse. It was a very sloppy game by both teams, and neither of them really felt like they had a great direction when it came to their decision-making. That said, the next couple of games are going to be looking pretty solid, especially later on in the evening. We're going to have the match between Mineski as well as Myth, which is actually coming up next. So if you want to stick around, that's going to be a very good game to watch.
All right, guys. Yeah, that's going to be it for us. I hope you enjoyed it. There's going to be more, so don't go anywhere, but that's about it for us. I'm Mike Loris. I've been joined by Grandis V for these games, and we sincerely hope that you enjoyed the cast, but we're going to hand the stream off to another caster pair. So there will be a very short picnic, but please don't break out everything and fully picnic, because it's going to be very short-lived. In a little bit, that's going to happen, but that's going to be it. As Grandis said, it's going to be Mineski Myth coming up next. That one should be a lot better than this one. Thanks for watching, guys. GG.